Hello, and welcome back to the green team of the Legendarium. I am the inimical Lord Ash. Joining me today are my good friends Hurinfan and Kyptan.
Hey!
Hello.
Today we will be covering The Curse of the Mistwraith by Janny Wurts, the first book in the Wars of Light and Shadow. This one was published in 1993 and finished last year, I believe. Fun trivia about the series include the fact that Janny Wurts has done the artwork for all of her own books.
Wow.
Yeah, she also
Pretty
has
cool.
interesting trivia to share about the state of the cover art industry on Reddit if people want to take that up.
I actually do
It
wanna
will be
read
no
that.
Yeah, so this is one of the big epic fantasy series that are kind of floating out there and perhaps deserve more recognition. We'll find out as we read the series. I have read Curse of the Mistwraith before, but never got around to finishing the series. Whereas Huron and Kip are doing this for the first time. Very exciting.
Woot.
Woo!
All right, we will start off, as always, with some spoiler-free thoughts on the first half of this book, or realistically, well, more accurately, up to the end of chapter 12. So, spoiler-free
I
section, and then we'll get into some very spoilery thoughts.
What if we go over our non-spoiler-able listener questions first?
I'll just pull them up from the list that I had compiled. Okay. Panda asks, "What is the premise of the series? What made you interested to pick it up and cover it on the pod?" Well, the premise of the series is there are two half brothers, one endowed with powers of light and one endowed with powers of shadow, and they duke it out over the course of some years. That was the premise that sold me on it. One of our listeners, who goes by the name of Eridandus, has been proselytizing the series for some time, um, and well, it's just one of those series that I think probably deserves more recognition because it's been going on for a long time, been quietly enjoyed by a small but dedicated fan base, and yeah, I think it's worthwhile to put a spotlight on these kinds of things.
I was promised pain. That's what got me into this.
Yeah, yeah, pain, like moral complexity. I think it was brought up.
Magic.
Um,
Lots of magic.
Importantly, it was brought up in conversation we were having about Malazan, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that always gets my attention.
And also, Realm of the Elderlings, but written quite differently, supposedly. But I was promised pain equal to Fitz, so we'll see.
Pain equal like, I hope it's not as painful of a reading experience. There we go. This is the tie to the
I enjoy
former
Hob. I
crew of the
enjoyed
Legendarium
reading Fitz.
we need. At least one Fitz hater needs to be on to
Hey,
draw the
hey,
ire of Hob fans.
the Legendarium gave me a signed copy of Assassin's Apprentice, so
Wow,
Amazing.
that sounds awesome.
Here, and why did you pick up the series?
I decided to read this because I like epic fantasy, and it's a big 11-book epic fantasy series that I haven't gotten to yet, and I heard the prose was good. So before starting it, I knew almost nothing about Wars of Light and Shadow other than there was a war between Light and Shadow. And I heard that Wirtz was a very good prose stylist, so I said, okay, well, let's plunge in. Plus, I heard it was good from people that I generally believe. So that's it.
Penta also asks, "What is the general reception of the series?" I think probably none of us are qualified to even talk about that because it's I don't know. There was some excitement for the last book, Song of the Mysteries, and some friends of the podcast, Philip Chase and AP Canavan, have done some videos covering the series. I think positively, um, but I don't know how the series as a whole has been received by its fans. I think positively, but I don't know very much.
I think I can probably confidently only say that the series is not thought of purely negatively.
Yeah, you don't. This is just like me hanging around the circles that I am. You don't hear it discussed like nearly as much as like the other big epic fantasy series, and I don't know why. I guess we'll find out as we read. But
I see it pop up like maybe when a post has hit 100 posts on Reddit.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
like Malazan's always there by the 30th post. War of Light and
Ah,
Shadow is usually there by the 100th.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good level.
Yeah, maybe a similar level of dedication as some people have for Matt Stover's works, Acts of Cain.
Yeah,
Same
that's there
ballpark.
by the 10th these days.
Thanks to one very dedicated fan of his, I think.
I don't know. I don't know.
Um,
I think someone has started a movement.
Well, maybe we can start that for Wars of Light and Shadow. Who knows?
maybe there's
End up
just
liking
tons of
enough.
Wars of Light and Shadow fans out there just craving stuff to listen to about it, and we'll just bring them all
And
in.
maybe they're not on Reddit. Maybe they prefer better prose.
That's a good point in favor of the series, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe they prefer better communities. I like Reddit, but it's not
I don't know.
exactly
I don't know. I think
not accessible.
the melodrama of this book leads me to believe that maybe that might not be true.
So yeah, and I heard it was good from people that I generally trust. Like Philip has pretty good uh, taste. AP has good taste. Johanna, who I think has the best taste on YouTube, she seems to really like it. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident, especially after 12 chapters.
Great. I'm going to skip over the questions on who would you recommend the series to, given that none of us have read it yet, and who is Janny Wurts, because I have her Wikipedia page open. She's 71 years old and she was born in Pennsylvania, and
And she does
generally
cover art,
she does cover art. Yeah, she has given insightful comments on the state of the cover art industry, which I
and
appreciate.
she seems pretty open to talking with her fans.
Yeah, maybe we can get her on the podcast. That'd be very great. What are we hoping to get out of the series? I don't know. Like, I'm coming to this with a very open mind. I think I want to not have strong preconceptions about what I'm expecting. I would like there to be stuff that kind of makes me think, challenges my preconceptions. I would like there to be beautiful prose. Um, and all that other stuff that we tend to enjoy in stories. You know, I would like a plot that I'm interested in. I would like characters that I like and like to hate.
I would like a story that doesn't feel like it got needlessly stretched out over this many books.
That's a good one.
Yeah, 11 books is quite long.
I would also like to see the majority of the map.
I imagine them. I mean, given that she's an illustrator, I imagine she's going to have been interested in doing her maps.
Oh no, there is a map in the front of my book at least. But I wanna see the story go through most of it.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yes.
Oh, what about the other? Well, we can talk about that later. I don't think mine has a map.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was recently musing
yeah.
in the Discord that I think that if I had read Wheel of Time now, I might not have gotten through it. I certainly hope it's this series doesn't fall into many of the same pitfalls that Wheel of Time does. But given the interesting sounding story structure that I've heard about, like
I'll say
it's
this: the
kind of
continent's much more interesting than Wheel of Times.
yeah, it apparently the pattern follows like there are several arcs within, and Era has described it as a series of concentric circles. Wikipedia
Yep.
informs you that the pattern is 1, 2, 5, 2, 1, which is very interesting. So book one is the first arc. The second arc is books 2 and 3. Arc 3 is books 3 to 8, and so on. So that's an interesting concept in and of itself, I think.
It is. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
I think it
that's pretty cool.
yeah, I think it probably indicates intentionality and that there
Do you
was
think it
significant.
will
Mhm.
all be the two brothers?
I think it will
I
be.
think so, yeah. But I mean, 500 years is a long time.
It is. I think it probably will evolve past them and perhaps become more about what they come to represent to people, but that's only initial musings.
Interesting.
I have no idea where it's going, none whatsoever, which is exciting actually.
Mhm.
What I'm hoping to get out of it is just thoughts, tears, great writing. I mean, I'd like for it to be my favorite series ever written, but I mean, I don't expect that.
That would be nice, right?
That would be nice. I don't think it's going to go there, but
Tarragona has already stolen your heart, Kip.
it would have to do a lot. It would have to do a lot. And I really don't think that this first half has beaten Terra Ignota in my mind, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, we can talk about our impressions on the first half of this book. How are you guys both liking it so far? What do you yeah, are you finding it interesting criticisms? Let's talk about it.
It does a really weird bit of foreshadowing. I've talked about this on the server. At the end of each chapter, there will be like a little glimpse of something. And then that same something opens up the next chapter, but in much more detail, explaining much more that you need to know.
It's like a anime preview.
A little bit. A little bit. It's like ending every chapter with like a hooded figure in the rain, and you're like, oh, what's that person doing?
And then we find out what the person's doing
Yeah.
for the most part.
Kinda, yeah. Sorry. Well, my first initial impressions. So, I told you that before reading the book, I was expecting beautiful prose. That's delivered on all fronts. Like, that's the first thing that stood out to me while reading, and it's a lot of fun to read on that front. I didn't expect an interesting what's it called, frame story, and so the prologue was a nice surprise, and I think it sets up
Mm.
the themes of the story really well. It sets up your expectations, and it also kind of gives you a lot of questions to ask about the series, and maybe some doubt as to um, how much you can actually trust this prologue, which I always enjoy. Um, I really really like it so far. Like I said, it was a little boring, and I still think it's true. But after I said that was boring, I just read closer, and I was noticing a lot of the things that Wurts was doing, especially as far as setup and the characters and the characterization and the tertiary characters and the world building that was going on. And I started to look at it more like Lord of the Rings, which I think the influences are pretty obvious. And I, I started enjoying it more after that. I also especially love how chapter 12 ends and what that means for the rest of this book.
Book and series, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I've read this one before. I have been much more engaged by it this time around, especially by the prose, which I had actually had that as a criticism of mine. Initially, the style felt kind of overbearing to me. My reading of it this time, I think I've been more slow and thoughtful, and I've been appreciating the small things that she's doing with the prose and how she's unfolding this, causing the story to unfold. And I'm less annoyed by the characters than I was. I think that perhaps a pitfall readers might fall into is
Liking
finding the
these
characters
people?
very odd. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They feel um, both very stylized and at the end quite human to me, which I think is an interesting kind of tension for Wurts to have introduced. The plot I'm actually finding more interesting as well. Um, the world that it's set in, I think, will probably feel, I guess, generic to many epic fantasy readers. But I think that it's probably well constructed in despite being kind of like set in a quasi medieval fantasy setting with you know your towns and barbarians and stuff like that. But I I I, I suspect there is more underneath the surface than might initially appear.
Sun children seem unique.
Yeah,
What do we know
I,
about them?
nothing. I find it very funny that of the three fantasy races that we hear about, two are horse related. So is Janny Wurts a horse person? Time will tell, I guess.
I I'm gonna say probably, but there's not too much time being spent on the horses in this book, so I
Not yet.
appreciate that too.
I mean, we can get to
Not
that
yet.
later, but I think that the horses are very important to everybody that sees them.
Yeah,
You know?
I think so far the closest series that I would compare this to might be Recluse, if the prose was different.
Hmm.
A lot less food.
Uh, less food, but similar focus on uh, protagonists on a journey defeating some sort of evil with effects that are going to ripple out through centuries of history.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty on the nose from what I've read at Recluse.
We definitely get a lot of a classical fantasy setup. You know, the wise wizard mentor and um, the up and
Shadowy
coming
Cabal.
young adult chosen one protagonists and The
Oh, my favorite are the Cirruses. Yes, the scheming witch coven. Yes.
and yeah, like the embodiment of like ultimate evil, it seems.
Elida wishes that she could be part of the scheming witch coven.
Oh yeah, these Scheming Witch Coven is so far, I think, much more interesting than Scheming Witch Covens of other series.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Styler or the prologue or?
The prologue, I want to talk about perhaps in the spoiler. Actually, I don't know. We can spoil the prologue.
Yeah, prologue's fine.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like 2 paragraphs or something like that. Yeah, I yeah, I agree. The prologue is very interesting. It essentially how it sets up is this is written by a group of sages who are looking back at a tumultuous time in the history of the world they are on, Ethera. Ethera is the world, and talking about the 2 half brothers, Lysair and Erathon.
Marathon.
Yep.
Yeah. There is apparently a religion based on Lysair that has vilified Erathon, but there's also a counter narrative saying that Erathon was misunderstood and Lysair was the
A
perhaps
very
evil one.
quiet counter narrative.
Yeah. But fortunately, the sages have looked back in time and experienced things as they were and have now laid upon us this unbiased narrative so that everyone can decide the truth of events for themselves. How nice of these sages.
You know what? What's their backlog like?
How are they
How long did
choosing?
it take them to get to this one?
Yes.
It's nice for
interesting
them
that they.
to bear
Yeah.
their biases very early.
Well, yeah, they're bearing their biases, but also
Disclaiming all of them.
yeah, like
Saying, sorry, we don't have biases.
they're choosing to like present the events that they present. They're looking at some people's experiences and not others, right? And this is like a classic historian's dilemma. But it's even more exacerbated here because they can apparently look at literally anybody that they want. So why are they starting the story in this splinter world, Dashin Ilur? Why aren't they starting it perhaps 500 years before the story begins, where you could like a lot of the events that inform the story kick off, right? They're deliberately not giving us context.
I, eh, maybe the events that they're actually interested in are 500 years in the future from this start of Curse of the Mistwraith.
This is the context for that. Yeah, totally fair, right? It's an
Maybe they're
interesting
like,
thing.
their early childhood doesn't matter, I guess, right? Just their late adolescence.
The names of the people that are important to them perhaps don't matter, or some of the people that are important to them. We get a few names, but not all of them. And the yeah, we don't get the context for the world that they will actually be in, or the world that they start in, the Splinter World, Dashin Allure.
It's like, we don't need to meet that fiance.
Yeah, we just need to reminisce about her.
Well, yeah.
It's something
I
that like
think
very efficiently sets up a framing for the story and informs how you see what's going on in a nice kind of diegetic package. I'm a big fan of it.
while also undercutting its own storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to share the last line of the prologue, which got me really excited for the book. This is the chronicle. The sages recovered. Let each who reads determine the good and evil for himself. So I think that tells you what Wurts is trying to do, but also within the context of the frame narrative. So I don't know. That got me pretty excited. I hope it lives up to what it's telling us.
I am excited to see how many different evils are in this series.
We've brought up quite a few so far. Yeah, so and it's interesting because the age in question, the age of the Wars of Light and Shadow, it says were fought during the third age of Althera. Ethera. But now we're looking back on it from the 7th age. So far in the future, it seems.
How much time do you think an age is? 500 years?
I think it's longer.
Hmm.
We get the sense that this world is like tens of thousands of years old, right?
Whenever I hear
Yeah.
ages, I think of Middle Earth, and the ages of Middle Earth are not like set epochs, right? They're just kind of
Correct. Yeah, they're marked by
big
tumultuous events.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like the first age was like uncountably old.
I wouldn't be surprised if the 500 years of the Wars of Light and Shadow would just count as one age.
I agree. I also wouldn't be surprised if like the first 10,000 years were an age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
the
mean,
first
well,
age of Middle Earth
specifically
is not even.
regarding. Sorry,
I'm just saying the first age of Middle Earth isn't even counted, I believe.
no, it's not.
Nope.
The third age is not started when at the beginning of this chronicle. It's already been going on,
Yep.
right?
So we might be going through the transition into the fourth age.
Hmm. Sounds
Much
familiar.
like Lord of the Rings.
Sounds like
Yeah.
Wheel of Time.
Or Wheel of Time, yeah. But and I think interestingly, this was when was Eye of the World published? I think it was early 90s. This was also published early 90s. Okay, so it was 1990. This was published 1993. I would imagine that Wurts had started writing this before Eye of the World came out, or before she read Eye of the World. So there's probably like a co-discovery of some kind, or people were
Co-discovery.
having some similar kinds of ideas in the 90s.
Wonder where that came from.
Mhm.
Also, there's gendered magic users, magic groups.
Sort of.
Yep.
I mean, the groups are
Kind of.
separated, kind of.
They seem philosophically different, not necessarily gender of magic different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
aren't all the women women and all the men men?
well,
Yeah, but it seems like it's just reasons of sexism, not inherent nature.
and also we have, I mean, we don't exactly have very many examples of male magic users. There's the Fellowship of Seven, which we've been referencing right now, but presumably more people than seven know how to use more than seven men know how to use magic. And presumably
Presumably.
not all of the women in the entire world are dominated by these enchantresses.
No, just one country, right? They're specifically the Coriani enchantresses.
Yeah. And we don't know exactly a lot about their philosophies so far, but maybe we can dig into them a little bit in the spoiler section. Do we have any more
Yeah.
spoiler-free thoughts? I think we're starting to
We're
veer
talking
into
about style.
style. Okay.
So as this thing is a frame narrative, Kip already made references to this, but the end of each chapter ends with basically 3 sentences, and each from a different perspective. And it's almost as like we are experiencing these fragments. I think the first section actually is called Fragments, from the perspective of these future wizards looking back. It kind of feels like it kind of gives that objective feel that they're going for. They're just describing what's happening. We're not getting any subjective experiences, and I love it. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to read one. In a dusty hollow between dunes of rust-colored sand, twisted trees shade the ivy-cloaked basin of a fountain from the heat of the scarlet sun. First of all, that's gorgeous writing. If you don't agree, fight me. And second of all, I look forward to these sections every single time, not only because of how beautiful it is, but just the shift in perspective from what we get before. Because usually it's written in like a very obviously focalized person, and then we kind of get like, I don't want to call it a bird's eye view, but it's a more objective perspective, looking at them from, like, I don't know, from the future or something. And I think it's really effective.
I think I like it as well. I think it reinforces the kind of mindset that I suspect will be the correct one for reading the series, where I think it probably should just be kind of approached in a very slow, thoughtful way. Like, you're not meant to kind of blitz through it. I think you're meant to reflect as you read and kind of take your
Yes.
time with it, and kind of question yourself as you go, which aligns very closely to what I prefer to do when reading these days anyways. But it perhaps won't appeal very much to people who want the punching, the spectacle, the fascinating interactions between deeply thought out magic systems and whatnot.
Yeah, the magic systems are not necessarily going to be deeply thought out, but they are functional and fun.
I agree. I like it so far very much. It's very informed by music and notions of harmony and discord,
Yeah.
which I'm always a fan of.
It's very soft magic, but it's soft magic that understands its thematic consequences.
Yes, it's very thematically important magic.
Yeah. And it's another world where bardic magic is a thing, which always puts you in a certain genre.
Yes.
Should we get the spoilers?
Yeah, let's get to
Sure.
spoilers. All right, everyone. Spoilers up until the end of chapter 12 of Curse of the Mistwraith. Ye have been warned.
If you're still listening, even though I haven't read it, man, that end of chapter 12 was quite the ending of a what?
That's
We
a
were
mid
going-
climax right there.
It is a mid-book. We were going to stop after chapter 11, and then I was like, I think I think what happens in chapter 12 is actually very important, and we should stop with that. So I got us to finish that, and boy, am I glad we did. Like,
I also
I
am
guess
glad.
spoiler: this book is divided into 2 halves, and that was the end of that half.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you, Ash. We talked about this the other day, but that ending wasn't unexpected. Well, I guess we just say it. They defeat the Mistwraith. So the book is called The Curse of the Mistwraith. I think up until chapter 12, I'd assumed that the curse of the Mistwraith was the fog covering the land and, making all the people crazy and whatnot. But no, the curse of the Mistwraith is the curse that the Mistwraith puts on
Lysair.
Lysair, which turns him like zealously justice obsessed, which is pretty cool. Because we usually think of justice as a good thing, yeah. Unless you've
Yes.
read about the Fulcral sale.
Yeah, unless you've read Malazan, in which case you're immediately suspicious.
I don't know. Some video games also put a similar focus on it.
This is true.
And of course, Wheel of Time.
I'm I'm very much looking forward to the Inquisition that Lysair will inevitably start.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of bad things done in the name of justice. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I'm
I
ready
think
for it too, but I was always ready for it because the dude didn't seem all that like actually just from the start of the book on.
No, he didn't. Like
He had a lot of lip
earlier.
service to it, and he had concessions to vanity for justice, but that was most of it.
I think what we see in the first half of the book is, yeah, he starts out as kind of like a spoiled prince, and to be fair, he's a nice spoiled prince. Like there are moments at the beginning where he knows the guy he's dueling with. Like he knows that I think they have a kid or something like that. He lets him win a couple times, and then when he has to go, he's like, "Oh, you win this one," and tosses him like a bag of gold. See you next time.
Yeah.
And then he's
Oh,
very
he's magnanimous and like can throw money around. Great, that's so kind of him. The
He's
spoiled
very.
prince.
Let me tell you, there are a lot of rich people that don't throw their money around.
He's very
He's
much
like,
motivated by being seen as a very good ruler and a prince, and very
Yep.
aware of how people might look at him in that light, and wanting to, yeah, like I said, make himself appear better than. I shouldn't say better than he is, because people are obviously defined by their actions, but not always are his thoughts and his actions aligned, if that makes sense.
I think he's concerned for the well-being of his subjects in this, and that he wants to, like, he does take some actions at his own expense to kind of protect the ones around him. Like when he says, "Okay, you need to drug Arathon. He's too dangerous." So maybe that wasn't the correct move for Arathon, but at the same time, he was like, "I will take the consequences to the ship's doctor and first mate." So I think that indicates, he does things that a leader should do.
Yeah, but it didn't actually end up mattering, and the actual effect of his ability was to still condemn that ship surgeon.
Yeah. Potentially. I mean, the ship surgeon is fine in the end, right?
I don't think we see what happens to him.
The whole segment in Dash and Allure is, I think, interesting because we get very few names in the first place, right?
Very
Like
true. We get like the mate,
exactly.
the healer.
The
It's
king.
like the sages
The king.
don't want us to know their names. That they want us to let go of them as soon as the princes enter Ethera.
Which is a little sad to me because I want to go back to Destiny a little. I think that world's so interesting.
I don't. I'm very bored by it. I want
Really?
land.
Don't you love Live Ship?
I love Live Ship. Live Ship was a lot of fun. But Live Ship had a lot of land that people were fighting over.
Mostly on ships, though.
I
but
want
like
pirates. I
often
want
in
navy battles.
harbors, often among islands, often for ports.
I want strife over land and resources that cannot be done on land.
Oh, I couldn't be bored more by a map that's all water.
Oh, you don't like Earthsea?
That's Earthsea is basically a river network compared to Dustin Allure.
Which is like it's meant to be a very small world, right? Like there are essentially 2 factions that matter, and it's
Yeah.
Lysair's dad and Arathon's dad, and then Lysair's dad kills Arathon's dad in a war, right?
Yep.
It sets up like a kind of microcosm of the conflict I think, that is mirrored on Ethera, but imperfectly mirrored, right? Because Lysair and Erathon start a genuine conflict there that then gets resolved during this part of the story, and they actually mend their ways and become somewhat close to one another. And then
Yeah.
I think that actually serves to make the story more tragic because they actually do get past this generational grievance. They fix things. They realize what is good about the other and why the other acts the way they do. They actually truly empathize with one another, I think. Or at least Lysair empathizes with Erathon.
Lysair does not.
You
Lysair
don't think
does
so?
not. Lysair's like,
He does.
oh, well, I guess that's over with then. We can move on. We can be chums. It's the most
Interesting.
surface level uh, uh, amount of compassion that
He
Lysair has for
recognizes
Erathon.
he
I disagree.
recognizes that Erathon will always forgive the people around him, to his own detriment even. His compassion maybe like is the most double-edged sword, right?
Yep.
And he understands that, and he wants to help Erathon, right? He wants to, kind of figure things out
But
together.
Lysair has too many more important things to worry about, like how his hair looks.
He never thinks about his hair, I don't think.
Yes, he does.
Does he? Maybe
Yes,
maybe
he
you're more
does.
tuned to this than I am. I think he thinks about his like. I think he has a lot of moments of humanity where he's like, "Oh, I realize." Like at the start, he's like, "I don't have a people to lead anymore. My skills are not marketable. I am going to be useless. Erathon will be much better than I am." And then he feels jealousy and kind of
But
inadequate.
I want to bring up that scene where he realizes that he is the king of the peoples, and Lysair's playing the music for the barbarians.
Erathon is.
Yeah,
Erathon.
yeah, sorry, yeah. Erathon's playing the music for the barbarians, and Lysair is listening. And while at the same time, he's kind of angry that he's playing music about the battles between their families. He realizes just how much better Erathon is, and how much more in common he has with those people. But at the same time, has this deep responsibility for for what he needs to do for them. I really like that scene a lot.
Yep. But
Yeah,
he's
and
gonna run away from it.
like comes to a realization. It's like, oh, I don't. Later, he's like, I'm a very small person. Like
Yep.
the moment when he looks at that crown, he's like, he realizes the magnitude of the civilizations here. I'm gonna need to actually do things fairly. I'm gonna need to understand where both people are coming from and the grievances that they have, and realize that maybe my way of looking at things isn't right. It might be flawed or incomplete or whatever. I think that's a great moment of growth for Lysair that will be reversed later on.
I
I
think in
agree
that
that he
moment
went
he
through.
also realizes. Sorry.
I was just saying I agree with Ash. I think he's went through a lot of growth from the beginning of the story, and having to be sent to the desert with his brother, half brother, whom he hates. And I don't know if he ever grows to love him, but he grows to forgive him and understand him better and feel empathy towards him. And then all this, seemed to become to its greatest point when they both fight the Mistwraith, and it's all undercut by the Mistwraith thing. So yeah, just becomes a tragedy because of the growth that Lysair went through.
He also has grown enough to actually genuinely self-sacrifice himself when he sees that, oh, Erathon's ward is failing, and then he goes to with his own hands block off the Mistwraith, which I think is like, oh, it's a moment of nobility that was cynically calculated by the Fellowship wizards, like engineered to happen, which raises questions of agency in this world, which I think are interesting. But
Yeah, agency is a
Agency and
real
consent are
question.
huge here.
yeah,
And informed consent also, which I think we can all agree. Lysair is not informed.
no, he's not. Erathon is, for the most part. And Erathon wants to kind of run away from his responsibilities. But Lysair is just like, I'm just here for the ride. I don't know anything about magic.
Look what I taught myself to do in the stable. That's going to be enough, right?
Yeah, and then Erathon doesn't comment on how wonderful that is, and Lysair gets kind of grumpy.
I I pity Lysair a lot. And part of that pity comes from having a brother who is just so much better than you at everything.
Hmm.
So Lysair,
Yep.
he's a noble. He's raised to
Yep.
be king. Blah 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 blah. He is going to sacrifice himself for his people. Blah 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 blah. And then Erathon comes to the scene. Erathon's this badass. Erathon knows his magic. He with withstands torture, and yet he's still so magnanimous.
He's a
Saves
prodigal musician.
prodigal musician. He
Or
he's very adept at maneuvering political things, like revealing the true identity of his half brother,
He had a dad who
Yeah.
loved him.
Just
Yeah.
like Erathon has everything, and
And a
Erathon
mom.
is so cool
A
and
mom who
good at
didn't abandon
everything.
him.
And it's a very deep contrast with his half brother, who on the
Specifically
surface,
his mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
who on the surface seems to have everything and yet lacks everything.
Yeah, like Lysair has everything material in his life, right? But he doesn't have a dad who cares for him. Like his dad sells him out basically. Um,
And he's got the power of light. Isn't that so heroic and amazing and awesome? Nope, not worth training.
yeah, can't train you.
I want a master of shadow instead.
Yep.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, I would too.
It does seem more sustainable magic.
I'm very interested in what the contrasts between the magic end up being. Right now, I am getting the impression that the light is more directly powerful, and then shadow is illusion and mind trickery, while still having offensive capabilities that Arathon is simply too noble to use.
I think my mind has been warped too much by Malazan magic, and I have my expectations kind of everywhere. Shadow could do anything you want.
Yeah.
Yep. I think shadow can do anything you want. I think light is perhaps more energetic, and that's about it.
I mean, it certainly seems to be set up that way in practice because Lysair has this realization is like, I'm never gonna be a wizard. You know, he refuses the training. I've got bigger responsibilities to do. I'm gonna lead these people out of their internal strife. And Arathon can maybe be the one to sing his songs and to learn magic.
No.
I don't have time for this.
What?
I think that Lysair will continue to not really know how to use magic. I think he'll have some
I don't think
capabilities that he
so.
teaches himself. No?
I think he's going to learn how to use magic, and I think because he is unbound by the greater balance, I think that he's going to be able to use that magic in such a direct combat focused manner that he's just going to be a walking nuke by the end of this series.
Maybe.
I agree.
He'll need to find people
He's
to
going to
teach him.
be a man who can walk across the world and just destroy cities.
I like
They
that
call him the
idea.
Lord of Light, yeah?
Um,
Master of
yeah.
light.
Master of Light. So yeah, that seems to be pretty good.
Who's gonna teach him? I don't. I at the moment I would be surprised if it was the Fellowship of Seven, because they're all about damage control with him. You
Yeah.
know, he's been affected by the Mistwraith. The entire reason that they choose him to be sacrificed instead of Arathon is because he doesn't know what he's doing.
I don't think we're going to get an answer to that.
I think the seven are going to be driven out of this world by him.
That may not
And
be the worst thing in the world.
I think they're going to have to reunite with Arathon eventually and come back.
Yeah, right now the sense I get from like one of the tensions I get from Arathon versus Lysair is like Arathon is like the elitist, you know? The sages like him. He's the one that the nobility will gravitate towards. He's the one that's going to
Arathon is absolutely not an elitist.
I think I
No,
disagree.
he's an elite.
He's an
Yeah.
elite. He is not an
He's-
elitist.
He's an elite and the elites like him. He's the ones that's
Sure,
favored.
that's
by
not the same as being an elitist.
Yeah, I mean we'll see, right?
I think that Cephalin compassion really disqualifies him from being an elitist.
I think that so the one of the big reasons why he's having this kingship forced upon him is so that the Paravians can come back, right?
Yep.
I think that's kind of an inherently elitist position by
Really?
the Fellowship of Seven.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Because you have the common people and they're kind of living their lives. But the
You
Fellowship
heard
of
it
Seven
here fast. You heard it here first, folks. Anti-genocide stances are elitist.
it's not even genocide. It's just like
It's
they're gone, right? They're not there.
I would say that an inability to ever return in any possible future counts as genocide.
Interesting.
Okay, we don't know what happened to Paravians. They don't know what happened to Paravians. They might have just like went somewhere. There's other gates. They could have gone to another world.
Yep.
It's not genocide, and it's not their responsibility. They just really like the Paravians. They're like, they're so great. We need to bring them back. And I think that's probably also for probably selfish reasons, I assume.
Well, at the
But
cost of this inevitable civil war that will last hundreds of years and probably kill millions of people, right?
they went the horse people back instead of not letting presumably tens of thousands, maybe even more, people to die in a war, a religious war for 500. That's a long time. I think Ash has a point.
I'm not saying
We don't know
that
it ends after 500 years. I think
Yeah,
I think
continue.
I think the prologue said something like 700 years.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that Arathon is morally inferior here. I'm just saying that like the kind of large factions that are being set up. Like I think Lysair will essentially be the man of the people, right? Like he will have the
I don't think
council
so. I
align
think
with
he's going to
him,
be the man of the guilds. I think he's going to be a man of
leading the
like
bourgeois revolution.
yeah.
Maybe.
That also makes things
Uh,
more complicated,
because
yeah, because the former
sorry,
leaders
are
are
you
now
talking
the
about
barbarians.
Lysair or Arathon?
I'm
Because
talking about
Arathon's going to be a man of the
Lysair.
people. Lysair is going to be the man of the bourgeois.
Interesting. I think Arathon's gonna be the man of the clansmen, who are the barbarians, who are the former nobles.
Yes, for former royalists,
Yeah,
which
I mean, like
include the former nobles.
the world went through like a kind of like
Yeah.
a twisted French Revolution, right? Like anybody who has any sort of nobility is hunted down.
Yep. But I think that Lysair is going to be firmly on the side of merchants, laws, and corporations.
Hmm. And Arathon's the true man of the people, even though
Yeah.
the people don't appreciate it.
Uh
Um, since religion is going to play into this, I kind of doubt it'll be as like Lysair will be like the capitalist hero. Um,
huh.
I think Lysair is going to have the masses supporting him, and I think the prologue probably indicates that because his
I
narrative is
think
one
that
that
their
builds
masses
on
are going
that.
to support him under threat and propaganda.
Propaganda, I think maybe I don't know about threat.
I fully expect secret police.
Hmm. I mean, I said Inquisition, right? I
Yep.
think that's gonna happen.
So, and you said Inquisition and no threat.
Well, like some threat, but I don't think that's why people are going to follow him. I think people are going to be convinced by his message. I think he's being like a kind of a prophet figure.
Okay.
Although, so far the only prophet we have in the story absolutely blows. Dakar sucks. I'm gonna take that stance now.
I love him
I
so
like
much.
I like Dakar so
I
much.
love him so much.
I really like his
Absolutely.
sections.
He fails at everything he does.
No, he gets drunk
No,
quite
that's
a
not
lot.
true.
He
He
does
gets
get drunk
drunk.
quite a lot. Yeah, to the detriment
He
of his actual responsibilities.
his actual responsibilities include telling the future, which he seems to do pretty well. At
He
least the
Why?
actively
fellowship.
avoided it that one time.
Yeah, and that was
Well,
really
do you blame him?
consequential. I blame him.
It's like I
Plus,
sense the future. Nope.
he was
Oh,
instrumental, incredibly important during that. I don't know, that scrying session that they drained Arathon's power.
Arathon's power isn't drained during the scrying session. Arathon's power is drained when they fight the meth snakes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
it.
The usage of meth as a prefix in this series is a hard choice.
I love it. So Janny Wurts uses perhaps some archaic terminology that may strike modern readers a little bit, like the words she uses for bundles of wood.
Yeah, I was
those are.
tracking each of those.
It's not exactly archaic. Those are still used.
Um, less
In
so in
certain
North America,
countries.
I'll say.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not really in North America. No.
I've seen it on package equipment before. Like on fire starting equipment.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen the Lord of the Rings and this. So
I was saying, oh yeah, Dakar, and plus he's funny. As the story goes on, he gets a lot more depth, and you kind of understand his pain, which I like.
I kind of view him as like a Jar Jar character.
Oh wow, ouch.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I view him as a Cassandra.
Cassandra is a lot more likable, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And everyone listens to him. So he can't be Cassandra, right? Like he has the seven most important people who are all like, Dakar, what have you said, you idiot?
Okay, a Cassandra to himself.
Well, that's a personal choice, right? It's his own fault then. How do we feel about the Fellowship of Seven?
I don't know what to think about them yet.
I don't like Karadban. Seems like a jerk.
He does seem like a jerk.
They seem to be really stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I think Wirtz does a good job explaining to you like their probably too much actually their priorities and what they're weighing ones against the other. But it seems like I keep thinking like, what's so great about the Bravians? Why did they want them so bad?
We get like a small section of that, right? Like they were very in tune with the land, and they did their renewal rituals, and
They
they
could do
produced
crazy magic
booty.
stuff, and they
Yeah.
made the swords and all this. And
Yes.
sure, I
Some
mean
just
those things
beautiful
are.
magic.
I
I
think
guess
it's
maybe
an
they
aesthetic
remember who
thing.
they
I think
are.
I think they're the most like they make the most beautiful things, and that's what the wizards like, you know.
And they left a mental imprint on the land, which affects everyone who has the sight to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But like so far, the story they seem just to kind of be really noble and like let's get rid of the Mistwraiths. Other than starting a war thing and being fine about that. Like let's get rid of these meth snakes and let's stop the Mistwraiths so we can bring light back to the world. Uh, I don't trust them. I think there's a lot more on the surface, and I'm looking forward to getting some more depth. But so far, I think they're kind of boring.
They're
I'm
definitely.
pretty sure one of them was the Mistwraith or caused the Mistwraith, right?
Wraith?
They keep making mention to what's his name? Starts with a D.
Davian.
Davian.
He was the one who made the 500-year-old fountain thingy.
That they come across the fountain. That was a funny scene to me. It's like they're traveling across this desert, and then the only water they find is the fountain of youth.
And of
Earthon
course,
reads it,
Lysair gives it
in
to
it.
both of them.
Yeah, and they're both kind of unhappy with this. Like Lysair's like, "Ah, yeah, I have to live longer without my fiance. Marathon's like, oh, the responsibility. It'll crush me under its weight for 500 years.
Probably right.
He is right. I get kind of annoyed by Arathon and his like how tragic he thinks his life is. He's very sad boy Tumblr kind of thing right now.
But he's a magician, and we have this thing called the greater balance, and he thinks that he's subject to it. I don't think he is.
Not just a magician,
I
but
think
a musician. He's a tortured artist, literally.
He really is. He is 100% edge boy, but it seems to be a magically enforced effect.
It is, yes.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about Janny Wurts' like interpretation of genetics until we get to the section where Sandir was like, yeah, no, that everybody in these families has a character trait that they will embody to an extreme flaw.
Yep. Multiple, actually.
Yeah.
And they were complicit.
Yeah, they're
And
complicit.
the
Yeah,
original people
always
were.
be this color.
the Fellowship have done a lot of meddling. I get the sense that they are largely responsible for everything being wrong.
Probably.
They're definitely
Well,
consequentialists.
We know the Mistwraith came in from a gate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Traith lost limbs while trying to keep it from entering the world.
He didn't lose limbs. He lost most of his
Capacity.
power, and he was left scarred. So
Okay.
Traith is like a kind of like a, I want to say like an Odin figure. He even has a raven, and he wears a wide-brimmed hat when he rides around as a mysterious traveler who people don't know.
Also, they're keeping that thing that the witches are looking for, and they're just like, yeah, they haven't asked for it.
That was a good scene.
Loved that.
Was really
I loved that. Sethvir is petty, and all he needs is tea, apparently, to survive. And he seems amazing.
Sethvir is, I think, the best one of them so far. Sethvir and Traith I like.
And then he was a completely different person in chapter 12, it seemed like, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he hides behind his tea-loving, jovial Uncle Iroh kind of demeanor, but he's like a cold, hard, Machiavellian figure underneath it all.
He gets things done.
He's
like, oh, great, Mistwraith gone. I've got some things to do now. Here, let's terrorize a mayor.
These guys are very for the greater good kind of people.
Yep.
Which I don't think is necessarily incorrect, but like, oh boy, they're making big decisions.
I mean, that poor warden of Myrtle of the swamps, right? He just has to stay in a swamp most of his life.
Snakes? Yeah.
All the time, watching for meth snakes and other dangerous things that could come up and kill him.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. Those meth snakes won't contain themselves.
I guess.
What do we think about the enchantresses so far?
I don't know what to think yet. I think they want us to think that she's evil, except for the lady whose name starts with an E. Elira.
Yeah.
She seems all right. She's got instant love with Arathon, but I mean, who wouldn't? Dude's amazing.
They're very ascetic and very hierarchical.
And people seem to hate them.
Yeah, they're extremely severe and
zealous.
Yeah, they demand complete subservience. and also no getting together with boys.
I did like the scene
Nope.
where they interrogated Elira, and she had to like hide her secrets.
Mhm.
But I don't really have much to say about them other than that.
I liked the scene where they spied on Keeling.
Oh, and
Yeah, when
Arathon and Dakar
when
laugh about.
Lorenda, yeah,
Yeah, that was
when
funny.
Lorenda was wearing Elira's like recorded consciousness overlay, kind of. That was a fun little bit of magic. And she felt under the sway of Elira's fascination, which was what let her get through the compassion wards of Keeling Tower in the first place.
Yeah,
That was fun.
I agree. Yeah, I think they're definitely th- right now they're being portrayed in a very negative light, which I find suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe they just suck. Sometimes people suck.
I don't find it suspicious, Ash. Don't find it suspicious.
Mm, fair enough.
I feel like I am very familiar with this archetype of sorceress covens, and no, she's not secretly good and kind-hearted under all of it. She might have a local stabilizing effect, but for the most part, she is destructive towards any change in the status quo. I'm certain.
I believe that Moriel sucks. I believe that this order perhaps has bad values, but I would imagine that there's more redemptive to them than we are seeing so far. That's as far as I'm willing to go at the moment. Like, yeah, maybe they do are like just kind of terrible all the way through, but I'm willing to bet that that isn't the case. I'm willing to bet that the story so far has kind of slanted our perception of them in a meaningful way.
I'm willing to believe that we're headed towards a story of reform among the Quariani enchantresses, or perhaps a splinter factioning.
Headed by Elira.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe headed by Arathon, and then, Elira tags along. I doubt that's what's going to happen, but
I would be very surprised.
if it was a different author, might be what I would expect.
I agree. I give Janny Wurts more credit than that, I think.
I think I do too, but we've barely seen Elira, and we've seen.
I mean, the story.
Watch the 5-book sequence be hers. Just kidding.
The story definitely feels inspired. Informed by Dune so far. We have a similar kind of
Yes.
bloodline meddling. We have similar kinds of far-looking people that are seeking to correct mistakes made in the distant past and have them be fixed in the distant future. We have all these noble houses that seem
Sexy space nuns.
fundamentally opposed to each other.
Sethvir, while far-sighted and powerful and Machiavellian, he is no Bene Gesserit. Him keeping that waystone out of spite and drinking tea while doing so is just it's a level of sass that Dune never had. I'm sorry.
It's it's very like a British villain, mustache twirling kind of guy. But he's nice, right? He likes tea. I can never truly hate someone who likes tea.
And he's so excited to serve it to others when they come visit. So, no, I can't hate him.
What do we think about the nobles, the barbarians versus the townsmen?
The townsmen seem terrible. The barbarians also don't seem great.
I think it's kind of a simple twist on, established formulas. Because usually, it's the barbarians outside and the townsmen, they're civilized versus the uncivilized. But really, a long time ago, they switched places. And I think
Well, they didn't switch places. No. Because the townsmen were previously just the subjects of the nobles, right?
Yep.
Rather than being like an invading force.
They switch places in the sense that the townsmen are now the civilized, and the barbarians, the people who are running the government, are the outsiders.
I think that as the story's portraying it so far, the barbarians are still more civilized. Like the townsmen we get, that the portrayal of the townsmen we get so far is not flattering, right? Like they're kind of they're like what everyone was worried the French Revolution would turn into, and in some ways did, right? Like
there's no code of honor.
They're base. They sleep around. They have too many brothels. They're willing to murder you for very little, right?
Yep.
They have like this fanatical hatred that drives them to just kill any person with a bad accent for like no self-reflection, with no self-reflection, no trial. They don't really seem to believe in. They're hilariously corrupt.
And yet they're still the ones living in
like,
cities with the government.
Interestingly, more tribal.
Yeah. And I think also interestingly, the nobles never had a sense of property rights or land rights, at least. They get
Yeah.
upset at the idea that you can own land, which is historically not at all what nobility has been about, right? Like the feudal system came about because of owning land, and it was the bourgeois that kind of transitioned a bit away from land ownership being like the primary source of power and wealth.
Speaking of land, how did anything grow in this land before the Mistwraiths left? How did they
Inefficient.
grow food?
Badly.
Yeah.
Badly.
But how are there so many people?
A lot of it
So
rotted. But you
yeah.
can still grow things. It just tastes bad, is sour, or is easily infected by mold. Like your harvest and yields go down.
Yeah, so there's like massive depopulation, I think. Like a lot of people died. And
Yep.
they seem to get a lot of fish from the seas, even though navigation between places has become a lot harder by sea.
Yeah, they say that they don't leave shore essentially. Like it's very hard to even get someone to skirt a coastline
Mhm.
for a transport boat.
Which is very interesting. It shows that there's a lot of subtle things in here that show that Janny Wurts has really thought through her narrative so far, and I very much appreciate that.
That reminds me, I really, really like the scene of us following the people in the towns after the sun came back, and them just being absolutely devastated.
Yeah,
They think they're going to
they've never
go
seen the
blind.
sun. They don't know what's going on, and no one's telling them.
Just absolute chaos everywhere. The
It's very funny.
wizards show up and like calm down. People are taking drugs and trying to fix the problems. And yeah, it was great.
I
I mean,
Uh,
I get cranky when it's too bright outside.
uh, um to switch gears a little bit, I quite liked this section in Dash and Allure that kind of shows hypocrisy in the cycle of violence, where it's referring to the mage that educated Arathon in magic. What words could tell an aging man that his beloved grandson had tried to provoke his own death? Did phrases exist that could soften the despair behind such an act, that a king's blind hatred for a wife's transgressions might fall upon the hapless flesh of her son? And then later, he says himself, if Arathon suffers harm, Amroth's king will wish fate's wheel could turn backward and past actions be revoked. I will repay every cruelty in kind on the mind and body of his firstborn. So, like,
Yeah.
these people are not shy about doing the exact same thing that's been done to them to others. And it's fair, it's just, because you have also murdered a son.
And they exiled a son, so another son got exiled.
Mm-hmm. And despite the fact that the king was like objectively the one to blame, if you have magical powers to exile somebody, why not him?
Because they didn't really have all that magical powers. They just had two what was it, like two co-conspirators on a boat?
Maybe Lysair's fiance was one of them.
Maybe. His protection detail was not sufficient.
I found it funny, this little quote here by Lysair. He was kin, and the only other in this miscursed world who recalled that Lysair had been born a prince when he was saving Arathon in the desert. So, like, to
Yeah,
your
see,
point
I
about,
told
like,
you, Lysair was not great from the
and he
start.
wasn't. He was portrayed very negatively at the start, and then he grows through a journey of growth, which I like.
Mm,
I think the narrative is still biased towards Arathon in important ways, though.
I think it's mostly that Wizards of the Fellowship keep telling Lysair that he's great, and he keeps believing it and using that as the emotional support that he needs to prop himself up and continue down that path. Because already he was starting to break and want to concede his fight, his will, his struggle before it was done.
I don't think that they are telling him that he's great. I think they're telling Arathon that he's great while Lysair is around, and Lysair is like, but what about me?
I think no, I think they're naturally acknowledging Arathon's greatness, and they're telling Lysair, "Hey, you're doing a great job, man.
You're a good
Never let it be said
trier.
that the Selescid virtues don't live within you. Don't let anyone tell you that you suck. You're great."
you're you're a stand-up guy, Lysair. We do get a little bit of that. I think less than Arathon gets, but I don't know.
No,
We'll
they're like,
see how
Arathon, you're not allowed to kill yourself. You got to do this.
Arathon,
Sorry.
you've got a job. You're too talented. You could be the world's greatest musician, Arathon. Truly, your musical skill is unparalleled in its in its unformed talent. But alas, you must
I
lead
weep
an
for the
entire
loss.
nation of people. Yeah,
I weep for
exactly.
the loss of your songs. But you must be king. You must lead this world out of darkness and return the greatest joy that this world has ever known.
I believe the folks these days call that glazing.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
All right, we're going for a while now, and I want to be conscious of our time. Do we have any final thoughts on the first half of this book before we wrap up?
I hope there's songs. I hope there's more songs.
We've gotten a few so far.
Yep.
Or do you mean like written down?
Written down in the book.
Hmm.
I
Token
want
style?
like I want a few stanzas, token style or Modicet style.
I expect that to happen at some point.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe some sheet
I don't know.
music.
I'm just excited to see what happens next. I'm all here for it.
If there's sheet music, I'll have a new standard for epic fantasy.
Can you imagine? That would be high effort. I would be very impressed.
I don't really have a lot of criticisms. I really like what she's doing stylistically and structurally. So, thank you, Wurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it very much so far. I am very positive on it at this point. I'm wondering if maybe the back half of the book was slower for me, and that's why I had a negative opinion of it. But I'm excited to find out.
Me too.
Do you have any more questions?
I think. Well, actually, yeah, we have a few questions. Yes. Um,
I think we answered some already.
we answered some pandas, but Jingles asks. A lot of general synopses of the series describe a blurring of the line between good and evil. Has Words blurred that line successfully for you so far? I think for
No.
me, yes. Oh no. Okay, go ahead, Kip. I'll come in later.
My line's already pretty blurred. But I think we have some pretty clear distinctions between Arathon and Lysair at the moment. The only questionable people are the Fellowship, but they don't even really do all that much to force things. They just give Arathon some information and let him know, and that's their major thing. Other than, the Lysair curse.
They just have
The
a
man who
very good
said, "I would
idea.
rather die."
They have just a very good idea of what anyone will do in any given situation, and subtly steer the conversations in the ways that they want. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I think this is
You want
blurring.
to talk about elitists? You can talk about the Fellowship.
They are elitist, absolutely, yes. And like Arathon is their boy. Um, I think that so far the line has been blurred. I think successfully for me so far, in a way that is like they're Words isn't just reducing it down to like, oh, it's all gray now. I still think there is lots of black and white, like good actions and bad actions, and people that are largely good and people that are largely bad. But there is, I'm questioning things, and I'm wondering what I might do in those situations. And it's not like it's not a simple answer ever. I think. What would I do in the situation of the Fellowship? I don't know. They take one action. I think it's hard to parse. But I think that there is still good and evil in this world. It's not all just like, oh well, it just depends on your perspective. I think there is some kind of objectivity that is preserved, which I appreciate.
One thing that I really appreciated was the specific delay of withdrawal of consent in this magic system. It takes time for you to disentangle yourself from an agreement freely given,
Mm-hmm.
If it's possible at all. And I appreciated all of the ways that interacted with the story and the morality.
Yeah, and there's that moment where Arathon's power is used in ways that he doesn't know about and that he forgets about later.
Yep.
Which, yeah, that's consent is a tricky topic there.
Yeah.
Eon asks, "What are your predictions for where you think this?" I'll just actually repeat this. Eon asks, "What are your predictions for where you think the story will go?"
Well, I think we've given a few of those, but I think
Okay.
we're going to have a kingdom reformation or two. And then we're going to have some kingdom wars or two or three or four.
I think
Or it's
we're going
going
to
to be
see an
like the
Imperium.
history of the English and French.
Who's
I
the
imagine
English?
holy wars and lots of tragedies and lots of massacres, lots of
Does the
suffering.
story feel tragic
Yeah.
to you guys so far? It does to me.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. That's I think what I'm
Absolutely.
hoping for most of the series, that like the tragedy is real, and also there are things to redeem it.
I do think we're going to watch the rise and fall of Empire, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are your opinions of Erathon and Lysair at this stage? I think we probably covered that. I'm probably more positive on Lysair than you are, Kip, and maybe a bit more negative on Erathon.
Much more. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Erathon's fantastic. He's a tragic little soul who's, trudging up a hill of destiny. And Lysair's like, I really hope I get a feather bed at the end of this.
Erathon almost feels like he could be in Terra Ignota.
Yes, he could be.
Yeah.
Erathon could be Mycroft Canner.
Oh, man.
I think Lysair is more complicated, more complex than he originally looks. At the same time, I still think he kind of sucks, especially compared to his vastly superior brother, who's just good at everything and who is also a sad boy.
Okay, I'm definitely more negative on Erathon than you guys are. I weight them actually about equally in terms of character right now. Yeah.
No. I think Lysair is complicated, but I think that beneath all of his complexities is weakness and venality.
He's just kind of like a bad guy.
He's a weak guy.
A weak guy? I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think no.
He's not willing to take the time to explore beyond a cursory examination of something before making a decision.
Well, he actually reminisces on that I actually highlighted this. The pomp, the wealth, every ceremonial pageantry that seemed part and parcel of kingship was abruptly rendered meaningless. He perceived how narrow was his experience and how limited his vision. The presumption shamed him that he had dared to set judgment on the lives of the Camarist barbarians. Their plight must be better understood to be fairly handled, a stricture that must start with rebuilding trust with his half-brother. Brought to painful self-honesty, Lysair realized that to do right by the Kingdom of Tyson, he must embrace a new concept of justice.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes him the worst, is because he has these moments where he recognizes how bad he is, and then he retreats from it.
I don't think he's retreated from it there. I think he's going to be cursed away from it.
No,
basically.
No, he made a thought in his mind there, and he was like, "Oh, I got to do better here." And then we see him next interact with people. That change hadn't carried over.
I think I agree.
And I don't know if we got enough time to see if that was going to be a pattern, but it's clearly not going to be the unaffected pattern going forward.
Yeah, because of magic, right? Like he.
Well, definitely because of magic.
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever got a chance to see if it would have happened the other way.
I think
in my
the
mind,
tragic part is that he was getting better, right? He could have been this great paragon of actual true justice that he's investigating, he's spent time being, and he could have been a great leader. And now he's not going to be that. Or maybe he will be that in some sense, but not actually.
In my mind, he was just dipping his toe in the concept and really had no idea how deep the water was underneath him.
We'll never know, right? Because the Fellowship seers saw the future, right? But their future was always tainted by the Mistwraith.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I think is an interesting setup. I think it's great tragedy right there. What do you think of the wizards? Yeah, I think we've probably talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep. Cardamom is sadistic.
Yeah. He's kind of a jackass. So this concludes our coverage of the first half of The Curse of the Mistwraith by Janny Wurts. Thank you for listening. Join us again next time on the Legendarium podcast when we cover the rest of The Curse of the Mistwraith and the rest of Wars of Light and Shadow and many other books that you all know and love. Maybe you don't know. I don't know. This is what happens. Our intro and outro music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. Thank you guys for this music. See you later. Goodbye. Thank you to my co-hosts, Hurinfan and Kyptan.
Of course.
I look forward to the rest of the series with you guys.
Me too.